organizations can create psychological safety in the workplace using behavioral assessments in order to drive innovation, performance, and resilience. First, we'll take a look at psychological safety, what it is, and why it matters. Next, I'll explain what the DiSC assessment is and how it can benefit organizations and workers. Finally, I'll explain how I believe organizations can use the DiSC assessment to create psychological safety in the workplace. So what is psychological safety? Amy Edmondson, who has spent much of her career studying psychological safety and who authored the book The Fearless Organization, defines psychological safety as feeling safe to take interpersonal risks. This means you feel safe to speak up and question a supervisor or coworker if you feel they made a poor decision, or you feel safe to suggest a new idea or process at work. It does not mean your ideas can't be challenged. Why does psychological safety matter? Compared to 20 years ago, workers spend 50% more time working collaboratively, and most innovation happens on teams. This means we need a foundation of trust in order to do our best work. If we are afraid our team might be dismissive or critical of our ideas, we will often remain silent, which kills innovation. Research has uncovered lots of benefits to psychological safety. These include increases to employee engagement, innovation, knowledge sharing, performance, and, in healthcare settings, patient safety. Unfortunately, according to Gallup, only 3 in 10 workers believe their opinions matter. Gallup says that if we doubled that number to just 6 in 10, we would see significant reductions in safety incidents and turnover and a 12% increase in productivity. Increasing psychological safety in the workplace can help to close this gap. To further illustrate the effects of low psychological safety in the workplace, I'm going to share 2 recent examples Amy Edmondson describes in The Fearless Organization. The first is Wells Fargo, where upper management set incredibly ambitious sales goals and monitored their workers' progress intensely. The second is Volkswagen, which pressured workers to reach an unattainable standard for a clean diesel vehicle. You might remember how this turned out. At both of these organizations, workers did not feel they could speak up and question management's decisions. And at both of these organizations, workers resorted to fraud to meet these goals. Wells Fargo workers opened accounts and sold products to customers without their knowledge, and Volkswagen workers created a device that tricked emissions tests by making their diesel vehicles appear to emit less CO2 than they really did. While this worked for both companies for some time, eventually it led to scandals, fines, lawsuits, and a major hit to both the reputations and the bottom line of both organizations. How many ideas are never shared in workplaces where psychological safety is low? We just don't know, but we do know that psychological safety is essential for peak performance. Now we'll take a look at the DiSC model of human behavior. DiSC theory posits that we are all a blend of 4 main behavioral styles, referred to as D, I, S, and C. But we have one behavioral style that is dominant. Individuals with the D style are direct and firm. Individuals with the I style are known for being outgoing and enthusiastic. The S style is even-tempered and accommodating, and people with the C style are usually analytical and reserved. DiSC was born from a theory first published by William Moulton Marston in his 1928 book, Emotions of Normal People. If Marston's name sounds familiar, it's because he also helped to create the polygraph and created the iconic character Wonder Woman. Several assessments were developed from Marston's theory before the first DiSC assessment came along in the 1970s. Now there are dozens of brands of DiSC assessments on the market. When you see DiSC with a lowercase I, that is a trademark of one particular publisher, and their assessment alone is taken by over 1 million people each year. DiSC helps to create a culture of understanding by helping us understand ourselves and others better. If I know that as a C style you value accuracy and stability, and you know that as a D style I value results and taking action, it helps us both to frame and discuss our behavior in a neutral, non-threatening way. It also helps us tailor our approach to communication to help fit each other's needs. DiSC has been proven to strengthen communication, reduce stress and turnover, help leaders motivate their direct reports, and drive performance. That sounds great, right? What could go wrong? Unfortunately, behavioral assessments like DiSC are sometimes used in strange ways. Because of this, one researcher called behavioral assessments sciencey snake oil and said they are no better than a good tarot card reading. Here's an example. DiSC is sometimes used to make hiring decisions. While DiSC can be a valuable tool for onboarding, it has not been validated for hiring. This is because knowing my DiSC style won't tell you if I can do a good job, only from which behavioral style I'm likely to approach that role. So, how can DiSC help create psychological safety? Let's look at how the goals of each align. The goal of psychological safety is to build systems and structures to ensure a safe environment for open dialogue. And DiSC can provide that structure by giving workers a model to better understand themselves and their coworkers. The goal of psychological safety is for workers to feel safe to take interpersonal risks, and DiSC is one tool organizations can use to increase the feeling of safety, giving workers a neutral language to discuss behavior and helping to create a culture of understanding and open dialogue. Charles Duhigg studied the powerful effects of psychological safety on Google's teams, and he says, if a company wants to outstrip its competitors, it needs to influence not only how people work, but how they work together. One way to help people work together better is to use a behavioral assessment like DiSC to create a better culture where speaking up is encouraged and as a result, innovation thrives.